We know sports.
10-foot touchdown!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Welcome into a day after the Eagles loss edition, Football Friday edition, Flyers opening night edition. A lot of editions going on here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We're going to react today to the Eagles loss as we predicted here on 97.3 ESPN yesterday. Also, we'll get you ready for the Flyers opening night. Kevin Durso will join us at 6:40. So we got about 40 minutes to digest the Eagles, get ready for the football weekend, and then Kevin will join us as we have Flyers hockey coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates on the call right here on 97.3 ESPN. So you can join the conversation through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can also text the show 609-403-0973. And as always, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. So wherever you're listening to the show, consuming the show in your car, at home, on your phone, we appreciate you joining us today. And I got to tell you, whatever mode you're joining us in, I hope everyone's okay, because that was a game last night that you genuinely probably, if you're someone who typically consumes the adult beverages, as Mike Gill and Pete Thompson would call them, then you were going to hit them hard last night. You know, during the summer, during for happy hour Fridays, when I filled in for Mike Gill, I would ask you guys, what are you consuming? What are you drinking this weekend, right? And you guys would send me all kinds of great ideas and great tips, and we had a great conversation about it. But I feel like last night's game was a game where all of the ideas that you guys sent me during the summer was flowing right on through, because that was ridiculous. Look, if anybody thought that the defense was all of a sudden going to play better against Tom Brady than you did against Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott, you're just ridiculous. All right. So to me, the defense didn't bother me too much. What bothered me about the game last night was the fact that you went ahead and you just smashed your face into a wall for no good reason. And today, you trade Zach Ertz. You gave Zach Ertz a touchdown last night, final game for the team, and then you turn around and you say, hey, Zach, thanks for the memories. Enjoy Arizona. I mean, it just... I got to tell you guys, listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I wanted this team to do something that it hasn't, because I expected them to lose last night. I told you guys they'd cover the 6.5. They did. I told you guys they would lose. They did. But to trade Zach Ertz the day after a game like that, it's like salt on an open wound. You know, Eagle fans are sitting out here. They're already frustrated about losing this game, right? You're already sitting there like, man, Nick Sirianni's an idiot. Again, that's what the Eagle fans are saying. I'm just saying what I read online. Eagle fans are not happy. All right, we all know that. And you go from having a situation where you're like, okay, we lost. You're starting to come to grips with it, right? You're starting to get to a point where you're like, okay, I understand we lost, but we got 10 days now to the next game. And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, right in your face. Zach Ertz traded out of town. For honestly, a player that I even had to look up. For as much of a diehard college football fan that I am, when I saw the guy's name, I was like, wait, who is this guy again? I know he was drafted this year, but I don't barely remember this guy. And I had to go do research on this guy. it just feels like this franchise is becoming tone deaf again. And it's something that I really was hoping would not happen. I was really hoping, because last year, when we would listen to Doug Peterson, when you would hear the organization talk to the media, you were like, man, these guys don't get it. These guys are just clueless, right? And it seems like we're right back to where we started. Right back to where we started. You know, Nick Sirianni and Mike Gill was talking about on the Sports Bash today on 97.3 ESPN that Sirianni deserves an F-. Sirianni, I don't think gets it at all. I think Sirianni is proving to be completely oblivious, or he's just an idiot. I don't know which it is, honestly, because, you know, when you listen to him talk after the game last night, I have no clue what he was trying to say. I don't know what he was trying to say, but whatever he was trying to say, failure. Absolute, positive failure. The dude doesn't get it. And I don't know if it's because he's trying not to say certain things out loud because he's worried that, you know, if he says certain things, will be nitpicked in the media, because he's got a lot better at answering questions and handling the media. So I don't think it's because he doesn't know what to say to the media. I think it's because Nick Sirianni genuinely thinks this way. You know, last night, he had no answers about the offense. And then today, the opening question to him was about the way the offense is played. The reporter, Mike K from NJ.com, used the phrase uneven the past 5 weeks. Sirianni's answer sounds like a Doug Peterson answer to me. Sirianni said, quote, "We're going to continue to do the things we've been doing. As far as play calling and game planning, we feel like we have a good process there of how we go through it," unquote. Later in his presser today, he was asked again about the offense. Because, let's be realistic, I don't think he gave a good answer the first time. He ends the answer by saying, quote, "When you play the way we did, it's never just on one person. We've all got to accept responsibility. We've all got to be accountable for that, and we've all got to get better from that," unquote. Well, I can promise you one thing. Nick Sirianni doesn't get it. Nick Sirianni doesn't understand what accountability means. Because if he thinks answering that question is his way of being accountable, he's clueless. Congratulations, Eagle fans. Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, hired a dude who can't read the room. He hired a dude who doesn't understand who and what he is dealing with. Nick Sirianni, he gave you 2 games where the offense looked solid. And then he goes 5 straight 3-and-outs. Horrible play calling. And former NFL players, from Seth Joyner to Steve Smith to Ryan Clark and many more, Ike Reese. I've heard tons of people in the last 12 plus hours saying this is a horrible offense. This is a high school offense. The play calling is garbage. Nick Sirianni's the problem, folks. You can blame Jalen Hurts and Alex Singleton and whoever else all you want. But there's no doubt in my mind that the problem with this team is the offensive play caller. And the offensive play caller's name is Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni is an ostrich. I told you guys this week, he's got his head buried in the sand and he won't pull it out. He thinks that everything is fine. He's the meme of the dog sitting in the burning building saying everything is fine. That's Nick Sirianni. He doesn't get it. He can't read the room. No one in their right mind is that calm and chill after a game like that unless they are that numb to reality. I don't want to hear about Jalen Hurts. I don't want to hear about anyone else. Anyone with two eyeballs can tell that Nick Sirianni's play calling is trash. That's a problem. Period. It wasn't because Dallas Goedert wasn't out there. It wasn't because Jalen Hurts is running right to get out of the pocket and he keeps throwing to the right side of the field. It's because Nick Sirianni is become our worst nightmare. You went from Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz and Chip Kelly before that to this dude who thinks that everything is fine. Our process is fine. We all got to do better. No, Nick, you got to do better. Jalen Hurts has started 10 NFL games. He is not out there ad-libbing an entire offense. You are in his ear telling him what he can and can't do. And your excuse about the RPO is a run call is trash too. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're throwing your quarterback under the bus because you don't want to take responsibility. You talk about accountability and responsibility, but Sirianni can't take responsibility for his own actions. And now he has 10 days to get his head out of the sand and eat some humble pie. Someone needs to walk into his office or call him on the phone and tell him like it is. Because it looks like nobody on the Eagles coaching staff has the stones to tell Sirianni to grow up. Absolute embarrassment on offense of play calling. The Philadelphia Eagles are now 2-4. I don't think it's an accident that in 4 of the Eagles' 6 games this year, Sirianni's play calling was atrocious. In only 2 of the games did his play calling actually work out. 1 was a win, 1 was a loss. And frankly, if anybody thought they were beating the Chiefs, they were probably silly anyway. We knew the defense of the Eagles was going to get chewed up by the Bucs last night. They just don't have the talent to handle the Tampa Bay offense. But you were at least hoping that the Eagles offense could rock and roll with them a little bit because you saw them do it against the Chiefs. And then you realize that Nick Sirianni just doesn't get it. Josh Hennig here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CLC. NFL Week 6 is right here, right now. And then this Sunday, FanDuel wants to give you the most out of every game. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet each week. That's right. FanDuel Sportsbook is giving all users a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you have to do is make a same game parlay bet with 3 legs or more. And if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting the NFL on FanDuel, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America, because FanDuel is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. So lock in your same game parlay bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook and get the $10 back if your bet doesn't win. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code Hennig to also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code Hennig to get your first bet risk-free exclusively with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Refund issue is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. We can get your messages wherever you want to get them in. We're live on YouTube and Twitter. I see Jeff's messages over at 973 ESPN on YouTube and Twitter. Also, 973 ESPN mobile app. Priority messages are received thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. You can message us through the 973 ESPN mobile app. And, of course, text board 609-403-0973. Kevin Durso will join us coming up at 6:40 tonight. But coming up next, we'll get to more of your messages, your guys' thoughts on the Eagles' loss last night, and we'll look ahead to the football weekend right here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
Tomorrow on College Football on ESPN Radio.
Death Valley is going to be a loud place anytime you go there. Wild, crazy environment.
The 20th-ranked Florida Gators head into the Bayou to face the LSU Tigers.
Picked off at the 20-yard line to the 10-yard line and into the end zone. Back-to-back pick sixes for the Florida Gators. Go Tigers.
It's College Football Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at noon.
featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. In college football action, I'm taking Florida to cover the 11.5 points at LSU. Bet all the action in style at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM. Get to all your messages wherever you're trying to get a hold of us. Don't forget, priority messages come through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of CLC. Download for free from the Apple App Store or Google Play. We get to all your messages in the order they came in, plus still to come. We'll talk with Kevin Durso live from the Wells Fargo Center for Flyers opening night tonight. Here on the action, 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. First message that came in a little bit earlier was from Jeff chiming in over on the YouTube channel. Says it's straight up frustrating with Nick Sirianni. He's too stubborn. Yeah, Jeff, listen, I didn't know if we were going to get another stubborn person here, and it just didn't seem like that. You know, to start the offseason, there was never a moment until recently that I generally thought that Nick Sirianni was a stubborn guy. I didn't think it because I didn't see that kind of person in his personality. And now all of a sudden, a few weeks have gone by and you're like, my goodness, this guy is just doesn't get it. He doesn't, you know, I used the phrase earlier, can't read the room. All right. You know, you guys ever see that commercial where it's a Snickers commercial and the guy goes up to the guy's house and it's supposed to be for fantasy football night, but he shows up as a Minotaur. He's in this cosplay outfit, and he shows up at the house and he's like, I got my fantasy nights mixed up. That's Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni's got his things mixed up. Sirianni doesn't understand what exactly he's dealing with. Because here's the deal. Any of you out there watching the game, okay? Jeff, who just chimed in, okay? Rich in the Villas, all right? You know, we had people earlier messaging. I'm just going to name off some of you guys who have messaged into the show today, all right? Jason in Cape May, Matt in Delaware, Jay from AC, Phil, who chimed in, Glenn and EHT, John texted into the show earlier, okay? Brandon, who chimed in earlier. All of you and I can see. I just named some of you guys who have been messaging in. All of you can see that Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing. And Ed's right. You can't believe we are where we're at today because you thought that you got rid of the stubborn individual in Carson Wentz, and you thought you got rid of the, I'm just going to keep doing it even if it's broken. I'm going to keep trying to run this car, Doug Peterson. You thought you got rid of the people who couldn't do it. And now you wake up on Friday and you lose the greatest tight end in Eagles franchise history on the day after a loss. It didn't have to go down that way, all because your head coach is a bad play caller. Completely unnecessary. A couple more of your messages. Over at 609-403-0973, Rich in the Villa says, I don't agree with you often, Josh, but I do today. Well, first of all, Rich, I thank you for still listening, even though you don't agree with me very often. But seriously, I think we all can agree on this. There's few things in life that we all can agree on. I think this is one of those things. We all can agree that Sirianni's the problem. Now, I've been pounding a table and saying Sirianni's the problem for weeks now. So this isn't a revelation to me, at least, but I feel like people are starting to see what I see. You know, whenever I turn on this microphone, I try to bring something to you guys that I've observed or I've seen. You know, when I give you guys my picks, for example, we'll get to the football picks in just a bit, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. When I give you my picks, when I give you my insights, I'm bringing them to you because I want to help you. I want to help you see things. I want to help you understand things. I'm not here to tell you you're stupid. I'll call a player or a coach dumb because I'll see something on the field, but you have an opinion or perspective. I'm not going to call you stupid. That's not my place to do that. We can agree or disagree like Rich in the Villa says, but when we all see the same thing, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough to digest it. James chimes in and says, Josh, do you think they want Jalen Hurts to fail to give them an excuse to start Flacco or Minshew? No, James, that's not what's going on. It would benefit Sirianni greatly if Hurts is successful because Sirianni looks like the guy who made it work in Philadelphia after Doug Peterson did. Listen, here's the deal, James. Jeffrey Lurie fired Doug Peterson. We can mince words all we want, but the owner of the Eagles was unhappy with his Super Bowl winning coach and he moved on. So he went out and tried to find a new, young, and up and coming guy. It benefits the Eagles if Sirianni and Hurts are successful because it benefits the owner that the head coach can win games and show himself successful. It justifies Lurie firing Doug Peterson. And for Hurts to be successful, it justifies Howie Roseman drafting Hurts and then trading Wentz. So nobody wants Hurts to fail. That would make no sense. They want now, if they want anything to not work out, maybe there are other players that they kind of want to maybe expose them and say, hey, man, like, for example, Jonathan Gannon, he's going to go in this offseason and say, look, you gave me Eric Wilson. It didn't work out. Alex Singleton, he doesn't fit my scheme. Davion Taylor, he's still young and learning. I need more on the defensive side of the ball. Okay, when Brandon Graham went down, Ryan Kerrigan barely did anything. We got to move on from that guy. I think for a guy like Gannon, yes, he wants some of these guys to be exposed. And I think for the Eagles offensively, they want some guys to be exposed as well because I think you're finding out that this wide receiver group is just too young. They don't have the experience and the know-how to be all they can be. So I don't think, James, the Eagles want anyone to fail, but I do think there are certain coaches, maybe like Gannon, maybe like certain position coaches, maybe like Kevin Petula, maybe they want some of these players to have to do well because they want them to be exposed as somebody who this isn't who we thought he was, kind of thing. But I don't think anybody wants Hurts or to fail. I think that's a bit of a reach. One more message I want to squeeze in here before we hit the break. 609-403-0973. Actually, two more texts to squeeze in here. Brian in Seaville, I'm not going to read your whole text, Brian, but I just want to clarify the Dallas Goedert thing. So here's the deal. Goddard, and I explained this the other day. Maybe you missed my explanation of this, Brian. So I just want to, I don't want to ignore your text, Brian in Seaville. So Goddard is vaccinated. Okay. The storyline for Goddard is apparently he wasn't feeling well. He took a COVID test. He tested positive. He is vaccinated. So under being vaccinated, the COVID protocols say that if you are vaccinated and if you miss if you can't have two consecutive negative tests 24 hours apart, that you can't play. That's the rules. So it seems to me, Brian, you're a little less, maybe you don't know all the information, but Goddard is vaccinated. He didn't miss the game because he was unvaccinated or he wasn't following the rules or anything like that. Goddard, it seems like Goddard genuinely has a little bit of he's under the weather. So, but it seems like he's going to be fine. There's nothing out there that suggests that this is a long-term issue or anything. Apparently this was them being overly cautious because in today's world, even if you don't have if you don't test positive for COVID, you're not feeling well, they send you home now. So, we are in a world right now, you will never see the Jordan flu game ever again. That's where we are now. You'll never see a Jordan flu game. You won't see a guy play through sickness because everyone is in this place now where they're so hyper careful and cautious and concerned about COVID. They're just saying, everybody stay home. The other text I want to squeeze in here, text says, Josh, can you answer this honestly on the air? Well, sure I can. Do you think you are more qualified than Sirianni? If you were the head coach on the sideline, you would have done better. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think you could slow down the psychological analysis. Well, Texter, first of all, I appreciate you chiming in, and I will answer honestly on the air. Being qualified more or less than Sirianni is not what I'm talking about here. My point in all of this is that if we all see the same thing, if we all see the same problem, then it's not about who's qualified or not. It's about Sirianni not seeing what everybody else is seeing. So it's not that I think I'm more qualified than Sirianni or that Sirianni is not qualified for the job. But I think, as Jeff said earlier in his message, Sirianni's stubborn. Sirianni's convinced that his process and his play calling and all these things are working when they're obviously not. And listen, we have to factor in the psychological side of the analysis because of the fact that there's no other explanation for it. When Nick Anderson missed those free throws and was a huge reason why the Magic lost the NBA Finals, when Carson Wentz kept throwing interceptions because he's staring down receivers, when Ben Simmons won't dunk the ball when he's wide open and he can't hit free throws, when any of the, Carter Hart, just he freezes up in the goal, because you have to ask the question, is there something psychological going on here? All right, this is part of the game. This is part of life. This is part of sports. You meet somebody and, you make the comment, well, that guy doesn't have it all together, or that person's marbles are, not lined up, or whatever comment you want to make. You make that comment because you make an observation that something isn't adding up here. And if something tangible isn't adding up, then it's an intangible. That's a problem. So that's why I view it that way. That's all. And by the way, I appreciate you asking the question. You say keep it going. Appreciate the answer. Well, I appreciate you asking the question. And shout out to Brian in Seville. I'm here for you guys. And by the way, speaking of here for you guys, before we get to Kevin Durso live from the Wells Fargo Center, don't forget, during football season, you can catch all the NFL action at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. It's time to get on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Little rundown the football weekend. I got some college. I got some NFL. Let's hit on some of these, and then we'll get to the Flyers opening night with Kevin Durso on the other side. Keep your messages coming as well on all the platforms. Here's the deal. Here are the games I'm looking at starting tomorrow. Auburn at Arkansas. I like Arkansas -4.5. Arkansas is 5-1 against spread this year. The only game they lost against spread was to Georgia. Georgia's the number one team in the country. Auburn is 1-6 against the spread as an underdog. I like Arkansas at home. I also like Michigan State on the road. They are 3-0 against the spread as a road favorite this year. Meanwhile, Indiana's 0-4 against the spread. I like Florida -11.5 at LSU. You can hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow. Florida, they're playing well for the most part. LSU is losing guys left and right. Dudes can't stay healthy for the Tigers. I think Florida covers the 11.5. Kentucky at Georgia. I'm taking the under 44.5. Kentucky has now hit the under in 12 of their last 15 games under head coach Mark Stoops. Georgia has an elite defense. Kentucky plays defense. Give me the under 44.5. Taking the over on NC State at Boston College. When you look at the numbers, I think this game is going to be like a 34-30 kind of game. I think the 51.5 is too low. These are two teams that can both score a lot of points. Army plus 13.5 at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, totally overrated. They're going to be exposed tomorrow night. Also, UCLA plus 1.5 at Washington. Washington is a bad football team. UCLA is just a better football team at this point. And then give me Arizona State. They are a pick 'em at Utah. Utah this year is 1-4 against the spread. Arizona currently favored by a pick 'em, according to the odds makers. And then Sunday, Chiefs at Washington football team. Give me the over 54.5. These are two of the worst scoring defenses in the NFL. So I am rocking and rolling with the over in that matchup. Chargers at Ravens. Give me Ravens minus 2.5 at home. You can hear Chargers Ravens right here on 97.3 ESPN following Billy Schwein in the locker room on Sunday. Rams minus 8 at the Giants. Giants, not a good football team. Rams, arguably one of the best teams in the NFL right now. Raiders at Denver. Give me Broncos minus 4.5. I just think that the Broncos are going to eat the Raiders alive. They're in too much disarray, and it's in Denver. And then finally, Sunday Night Football. Steelers cover the 5.5. Geno Smith, a week to prepare for him? Nah. Geno Smith ain't that good. I think the Steelers win by a touchdown in that game. All right. And all those picks are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Kevin Durso previews the Flyers season that begins tonight. You hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
Backhand shot, he scores! The Flyers open the 2021 season hosting the Vancouver Canucks.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
This week's featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. In college football action, I'm taking Florida to cover the 11.5 points at LSU. Bet all the action in style at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here live at the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN, where you can hear on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Flyers opening night is tonight. Yes, you can catch all the action on your radio, on your phone with the app. We got you covered because Flyers hockey is back. And joining us to talk more about the Flyers who are back in action, it is Kevin Durso. He is back for another season of Flyers hockey here on Game Night. Kevin, I see you're dressed to the nines over there. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And you know what? For as exciting as it is, I'm so glad you wrote that 10 Things You Need to Know article about the Flyers because, you know, a lot of those moves, they happened months ago. And one of those moves, we don't even see tonight. No Ristolainen tonight. So, but I understand Ryan Ellis is going. So talk about how different this team will look on the ice with who is actually going to be on the ice tonight.
Well, I mean, where do you want to start at that point? Because, yes, you can start at Ryan Ellis for sure as one of the first guys who comes to your mind as a new player on this team. Kim Atkinson's in the lineup, Derek Sard's in the lineup, Keith Handel's in the lineup. And then you go further along, and then you get to this fourth line that now is going to have Nate Thompson centering it. Max Willman's making his NHL debut on the left side there. That's another piece that technically in the organization last season, but not part of the team last year. Again, another new face that people are going to get to see for the first time. Nick Sealer's playing in place of Ristolainen on the defensive side of things. It's another new acquisition this offseason that was kind of more of a depth signing. So you go across the board here. There's still 3 new defensemen in the lineup. There's multiple forwards now. I believe I just rattled off, 5 names right there, or 4 names. And that's a big deal. I mean, that's a lot of people. And then don't forget that he's not playing tonight, at least hopefully not if Carter Hart has anything to do with it, obviously. But Martin Jones is on the bench as the backup tonight. So that's another new face in goal for down the road whenever they decide they need him. And it's going to probably take a little bit of time for some people here to kind of get acclimated to these new faces on the ice and these new numbers and these new players who are just joining into things. But it's been exciting to kind of, get to know these guys a little bit and get to kind of see their personalities through the interviews they have, and also to see them on the ice for the first time in preseason and get a feel for them. And now the real thing gets started, and that's the exciting part, is that it's finally time kind of all the things, the number of times I came on over the summer and talked about what this guy would bring or what that guy would bring and all these new faces, it's time to really see what happens now.
I think the biggest focus as well has to be on the goaltender, Carter Hart. Obviously, last year, some things were out of his control. He didn't have a very good line in front of him at times. There was a lot of, just guys weren't just doing their job. I mean, how many times I talked to you last year about guys weren't getting back on defense? They were missing assignments. I mean, you and I were ripping the Flyers left and right for the defense last year. Well, they changed the roster a good amount. So did they change it enough to put a better team in front of the young goaltender?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's why when I did the storylines article, that was an easy number one. I mean, this season only goes as far as Carter Hart allows it to go at this point. And the good news is that from my vantage point anyway, the 2 starts he did make in the preseason, he looked like his old self. He looked sharp. He looked positioned well. His tracking was on point. It's all good news for they're going to get from him this season. And if the only disappointment so far in the preseason was that he wasn't able to go last Friday in the final preseason game when he was expected to, and they just kind of held him out as a precaution. He was dealing with a little, they call it bumps and bruises. He's good to go tonight, though, and hopefully we see a lot of what we saw earlier because, yes, as much as we can talk about all the outside factors, and they certainly tried to give him a better support system, guys who maybe the focus is more on playing a two-way game or guys who are more responsible in the defensive zone or penalty kill type guys or things like that. Certainly, it's on him to get back to his form, and he seems like a confident guy again. He looks like he's a different person in the sense that things are a little bit more back to normal for him, the way that things are a little bit more back to normal for all of us. I'm sitting in my usual side of the arena in the press box instead of on the opposite side or down low where we were at the start of last year. And the players are actually able to. We've heard stories about they're going out after practices and going out to dinner and things like that. It's nice that they get to have that part of life back where they get to forget the game for a little bit. That's what Carter Hart wasn't able to do last year, was get away from all of the struggles. Now, if he has a bad game, there's a good chance he'll be able to do something about it and kind of get away from it mentally to come back refreshed and ready to go the next time, because he had bad games before, but he was able to kind of bounce back much quicker as a result. I think last year you just got stuck with everything, just one thing after the other, and it just snowballed out of control, and the mood just was. And now, clean for everybody. It's definitely what he wants, is a clean slate. He's going to get the start of one tonight for sure.
Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider over at 97.3 ESPN.com, joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin_Durso on Twitter. Give him a follow there for your Flyers and NHL analysis. Kevin, as we get ready for also opening night, is there pressure on Alain Vigneault to maybe say, look, last year we had COVID, we had maybe not the best culture, right? Now you change the culture, you're bringing a bunch of guys who have been captains and leaders of their teams. How much of this falls on Vigneault to say, look, now I got to step up and get the job done?
Yeah, it falls on everybody, quite honestly. I mean, everybody from Alain Vigneault on down, players, when they come in and they're doing their interviews, they're wearing shirts that say something to prove, and everybody in the organization has something to prove. Chuck Fletcher put his foot forward here. He went out and was aggressive this offseason. We saw it. There's how many new faces? I think I mentioned at the start of things when Ellis was acquired, don't be surprised if there's 3 or 4, and we got double that. It was 8 new faces. So it's totally different here, and the culture has definitely changed a lot with these players, but it doesn't just stop there. Now you need to see everything kind of prove itself on the ice and everybody to be at their best. And, Alain Vigneault's at the top of that list. I posed the question in that Storylines article, is he on the hot seat? And to an extent, he is, because when you make that many changes in terms of player personnel, now you get the spot on the coaching staff a little bit, that maybe if something doesn't go right, it is the systems that aren't working and the mindset of the coach that isn't working. And granted, winning is going to be a cure-all. If they come out and they start winning games and they find a way to be successful relatively early, and I don't know that they will be super successful in the early going. I mean, in Alain Vigneault's first year with the Flyers, they had a modest October. I believe their record was 5-5-1, and then they really turned it on in November, and that was kind of the month where everybody started to turn their attention to it a little more and go, well, maybe this team's a little different than in years past. Maybe they've got a little bit more of a different vibe to them, and it really carried through until everything stopped and you got to the playoffs, and that was where, the schedule just was crazy with the way the world was. Now, you're going to, by all standards, probably get more of a normal schedule. Let's put it this way. I'm about to watch a game against a Western Conference opponent for the first time in just about 2 years. It's pretty crazy that's how far it's gone, that, this is how long it's been since you've gotten to play other teams that you don't see that often, instead of playing the same 7 teams, which makes it tougher, too, because then you see the same opponent. They start to get a feel for what you do and how things are going to be, and it becomes a challenge for you to get out of those struggles. So I think now it's going to be much more of a normalcy to the season, not completely normal, but more of a normalcy enough that there's no excuses. Alain Vigneault and the rest of the team all have to kind of really show what they got, because there is no going back now. I mean, you've made a lot of changes, and I'm sure that if it doesn't go well, there's going to be more to come.
Kevin, 20 seconds before I let you go. Who's better dressed, you or your Open Ice Hits podcast co-host Broads?
You know what? I don't see a jacket on him, so I'm going to say me, because I went full suit. So just pointing that out, I'm like, you know what? He's not sitting down there right now. I can't even shoot him a look. So, but nonetheless, he's this is gonna be fun having him up here too. We were already joking around already, and we're not even sitting next to each other. I want to, if I can really quick, I'm seated next to, they have a little tribute here, Jay Greenberg, the longtime Flyer. I'm actually next to his regular seat, so I do want to give a quick shout there because it's a really nice tribute. And I'm honored to be in the seat next to him, hopefully doing half of as good of a job as he did all those years. So looking forward to the season, though, Josh. Let's get it going.
Kevin Durso, at Kevin_Durso on Twitter. Follow him for all the Flyers and hockey coverage. Flyers hockey next. Kevin, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'm out of here. Have a great night, everybody. And don't forget, tomorrow, Billy Schweim, the locker room. But right now, Flyers hockey on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. We'll recap the Eagles' 4th loss of the season to the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucs. We'll get reaction for the Zach Ertz trade. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan checks in from Vegas with his 6-pack of picks. And we'll hear from Charlie O'Connor, who covers the Flyers for The Athletic, about this year's Flyers squad. All that and more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app.